sister. You have a twin sister. If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. Darth! Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, poseability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Today, we're taking a look at the DC Multiverse Endless Winter Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. Starting off with the packaging, and they come in the extra wide build boxes. This time we're collecting to build the Frost King, and here's a big picture of him on the back. I can already tell that not only is this guy looking really cool, he's also going to fit in a lot of different displays. The entire wave consists of Wonder Woman, Batman, Green Lantern, and Black Adam. And, one of these things is not like the other. I'm all for artwork on the cards, but I'm also for consistency, especially when the rest of the wave follows such a strict motif. I'm not complaining, it's just an observation. Inconsistencies aside, for packaging, I'm giving John and Diana 1 whole point. Moving on to presentation, and both Wonder Woman and Green Lantern stand at just over 7 inches, but not quite 7 1/4. This figure, of course, is a reissue, so I'll be brief. From the top, and I absolutely love this head sculpt. They did a really good job on his fade, the features are strong and piercing, and the paintwork is very realistic. Also, real quick, I just want to take a moment to make a correction. In my last video, I said that Jon Stewart was the only unmasked African-American head sculpt that McFarlane Toys has given us. That is actually not the case. As YouTube user Battle Toys pointed out in the comments, there's also an unmasked version of Bloodsport. This, of course, was in reference to finding a good unmasked head sculpt for Timothy Fox. Huge shout out to Battle Toys for pointing it out, and if you like Beyblade-style toys, you should definitely check them out. They could have given him just a simple bodysuit, which a lot of us, myself included, might have preferred, but instead they added all sorts of ribbing and piping to make it look more like a movie costume. Granted, it might be a movie designed by H.R. Giger, but on its own merit, it's very visually interesting. If I had one major criticism, it would be the waist articulation and how it's integrated into the sculpt. Straight on it looks fine, but at an angle it juts out almost like a beak. Same problem when you hunch it forward. If I had two criticisms, the other one would be his hands. Don't get me wrong, the ring was sculpted very nicely, but Jon Stewart is traditionally depicted as not wearing any gloves, even on the promo image on the box. My guess is that this made it an easier repaint for Hal. Wonder Woman, however, is a completely unique sculpt. Once again, this is not a standard Wonder Woman. Instead, she's wearing some winter gear. Unfortunately, whoever glued the helmet on was a little bit crooked, flipping her around, and she has a pretty sweet braid. In fact, the braid clip is the Wonder Woman logo. She has a cape made from an animal pelt. The texturing is very impressive. And speaking of texturing, the texture on the costume, of course, is great. Also, quite a bit more paint detailing than usual. Some things, like the fur trim, were left undone, but stepping back and it all really comes together. That said, I would have preferred a more metallic gold as opposed to this kind of mustard yellow, but hey, she's looking mostly straight, so I take that as a win. Granted, she's missing some shoulder armor, she's also missing her bracers, but as a general winter Wonder Woman, this really works. Also note that the lasso is not removable. Neither figure is entirely accurate to the comics, but both of them still look really good, notwithstanding. For presentation, I'm giving Green Lantern and Wonder Woman 1 whole point. Moving on to poseability, and both figures have dumbbell joints in the neck. They can look up this much. Wonder Woman, of course, is impeded by the hair, and they can look down this much. They both have swivel hinge shoulders, but because of the cape, Wonder Woman can't really do a whole lot. That said, they both have rotator cuffs and bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and McFarlane wrist balls. Shifting to the torso, and that's the biggest difference between the two. John has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell in the waist. I don't think I need to remind you of this. Wonder Woman, on the other hand, is a little more complicated. As you can see, there's no obvious joints, but lifting up her cape and there's an obvious separation. I honestly can't tell if this is supposed to be articulation or if it's just falling apart. And to be honest, I'm afraid to mess with it. Moving on down, and they both have McFarlane-style hips, and despite Wonder Woman's skirt, they both have a pretty decent spread. The skirt does, however, interfere with her double-jointed knees. No trouble for John, though. They also both have toe articulation and McFarlane ankle balls that do all the McFarlane ankle ball things. The articulation between these two figures is so different that this is where we diverge. For poseability, I'm giving Green Lantern 1 whole point, but Wonder Woman gets half a point. Moving on to playability, and Green Lantern comes with a trading card and a figure stand. Again, this one has artwork instead of a publicity still. Pause here if you want to read it. He also comes with these pretty cool sword constructs. He holds them like so. Not only do they look cool, but I really appreciate the bright fluorescent green. Additionally, he comes with the head and cape of the Frost King. Wonder Woman also comes with a trading card and a figure figure stand. Pause here to read that one. Curiously enough, on the trading card she has the correct shoulder armor, and the gold pieces are metallic. She also has a shield, and since we can see the sword in her sheath, she was also supposed to come with an extra weapon. I'm really curious what happened to this figure during production. That said, she does come with a sword, definitely a bit modest compared to some of the other swords she came with. She can hold it like so, or you can store it in its sheath. If you wanted to give her a shield, this one works pretty well, and if you want to give her an axe, there's this one from DC Universe Classics. Just be warned, it's a bit loose. Additionally, she comes with the torso of the Frost King. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figures play with others. For some Wonder Woman comparisons, here she is with Superpowers by Kenner. Next up is JLA by Hasbro. Here we have Wonder Woman from the Justice League Animated Series by Mattel. Speaking of Mattel, here we have DC Universe Classics. Moving over to DC Direct, and here we have Wonder Woman designed by Darwin Cook. Notice the similar helmet. DC Direct eventually rebranded themselves as DC Collectibles. Around the same time, they gave us this Wonder Woman based on her look from the New 52. Soon, she'd undergo another major redesign and give us the Rebirth look. This one is by DC Icons, also by DC Collectibles. And before they lost the license, Mattel gave us a Rebirth Wonder Woman as well. Mattel was out and McFarlane was in, giving us this Diana from Wonder Woman 1984. Next up, here's Wonder Woman from Last Night on Earth. This is one of my favorite Wonder Woman figures. Here we have Wonder Woman from Dark Knight's Death Metal, and here we have Wonder Woman designed by Todd McFarlane himself. If you saw my video on this figure, you know how I feel about it. That said, I do have one other very special Wonder Woman in my collection. The Terry Dodson version from Wonder Woman Series 1 by DC Direct. If you saw my White Whale video, you'd know that this Wonder Woman was at the top of my list. I'm not going to be unboxing her at this time, but I do have them standing level. Unfortunately, the only other Jon Stewart I have is from the Mattel DC Multiverse, but for some Justice League comparisons, here they are with Superman. This one is the Action Comics 1000. Here we have Rebirth, and since they are a bit more realistic, here they are with Cavill. For some Batman comparisons, here we have the new Rebirth figure. It might skew just a bit small. Here we have 3 Jokers, which I think works a bit better. Here we have the Battle Damage version. Here's Timothy Fox from Future State. And again, since they are a bit more realistic, here they are with Batfleck and Battinson. For my only 7-inch scale Flash figure, here we have DC Essentials. And while we're on the subject, here's the DC Essentials Aquaman and Hal Jordan. For a relative scale comparison, here they are with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And of course, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. I'm cold. I can tell. You know how I can tell? We're connected. In general, these figures are light on accessories, but really this wave is all about the Build-A-Figure. It's kind of a shame when you look at the promotional image and see what could have been. Still, it's nice to get a second chance at Jon Stewart for those of us who might have missed him the first time. For playability, I'm giving these two 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. I found these two at Walmart for $24.99. Compared to single card releases, and they are packed pretty light. This, of course, is in service to the Build-A-Figure, which promises to be pretty imposing. For price, I'm giving the Endless Winter Wonder Woman and Green Lantern 1 whole point. This gives Wonder Woman a total of 4.5 out of 5, and Green Lantern a total of 5 out of 5. For more Wonder Woman content, check out this video on the one designed by Todd McFarlane, or check out this video on my top 10 action figure white whales. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.